to the Safety Doc Podcast with author, radio host, and nationally recognized safety expert, Dr. David Perrodin. Join us each week as we discuss the best and most bizarre practices in safety preparation and crisis response. Follow Dr. Perrodin on Twitter at SafetyPhD. And remember, the truth will keep you safe.
Hey, everybody. It is your good friend, Dr. David Perrodin from down here in the historic North Star recording studio. I don't have the headphones on, so I'm not sure if there's any audio that you are actually hearing. So leave me a comment. Let me know if you are able to hear this presentation, but I didn't want to put the headphones on today. So it's been a while. I think January was the last official show. This is kind of just an update. Some things have happened, good things. One is the audiobook has released. So that is out there. Again, if you can hear me, put a message in the chat or a $100 super chat. Either one of those would be awesome. But yeah, so here's where things are at. Can you hear me? Don't want to put the headphones on. As soon as we get a confirmation, we'll move forward. So we'll wait until somebody confirms. Yes, they can hear me. So far, we have no one doing that. So 4 people watching, nobody acknowledging there's audio on this show. So what's up? Is there audio? Seems like this is taking a long while. All right. Well, I'm going to assume there's audio. Yeah, good. Well, Sunflower is awesome. Coming through here. I appreciate it. So actually, it's been a while since I used this microphone. It is literally dusty. As I speak, the dust is coming off this microphone. So yeah, it's been since January. The consulting started again, and it's Mike McLuhan, our good friend, and Sunflower's here in the house. So welcome. Yeah, you guys are talking about me earlier today. My ears are burning. My ears are sunburned, but in a good way. I biked 40 miles yesterday, and that was the image leading into the show, or the show note, I guess. Pretty awesome photo of my bike, and then a field with an irrigation system that was just set up. So, but anyway, yeah, so I'm sunburned, but I'm feeling great, right? It's April 13th. I biked yesterday, 40 miles, and that's a short ride for me. I usually will do 70. It's kind of a normal ride, and 100 or a long ride. 40 is a short one. But it started a year, and I didn't know how well I would be able to do that. So welcome to Cole Thornton, by the way, and back to our good friend Mike McLuhan and Sunflowers. But I felt great. I had the bike overhauled in March, and so yeah, the bike ran like a charm, and the weather was perfect. The thing that messes you up a little bit, at least for me, when I don't bike over winter, is your cadence gets screwed up. So you're pedaling, your cadence, it's hard to get that back. So it takes a while because you're pedaling too fast, you're too slow, or whatever. So per the terrain and kind of per what your body is used to. I felt good. I wasn't tired when I got home. I felt good while I was biking, which was, that was a good sign because I didn't do a lot over winter, right? From November until now. So yeah, it wasn't winded. It just felt great. Hey, it's DLD. Yeah, the audiobook released on the 12th. So interesting side note on that. DLD is so. By the way, velocity of information has been outstanding, like worldwide. And the press release officially comes out Monday for the audiobook. But we're at 4 times greater sales than what we thought, me and the publishing team, right? So unbelievable, unbelievable. And it's in, outside of the US, it's saturating into a lot of countries, Germany and United Arab Emirates, and just really doing great. So that's a thrill to go in and to see the success of that. And School of Airs, continues to do well. I saw there was a new review posted today on that too, so that's cool. And that audiobook seems to do pretty well. I narrated that, and I didn't, I didn't think that would do that great, but people seem to like my voice. But I can tell you, Velocity of Information with Ben Hawk, the actor narrating it. That's an awesome book. So the audiobook released. It, well, I'll go audiobook, then I'll skip back to the biking thing. But the audiobook of Velocity of Information released what, on Wednesday, right? So contractually, it had to release 1 year after the print date. So it released on Wednesday. It was done last summer, and it was loaded into Findaway Voices, and just had to wait that 1 year to get out. So it's out there like Barnes and Noble, Google Books, Spotify, Scrib, Chirp, things like that, but it's not on Audible. So today I jumped in and I was checking with Findaway Voices. I said, "Why isn't it on Audible?" And they said, "Well, there's a claim against the book." A claim? I'm like, "Well, what's the deal with that?" So I checked with Audible. Like, I talked to one of their people and I said, "Did my publisher do this? Because I have rights to the book, and my publisher would, I don't think, put the claim on it." Or is it somebody else? I mean, what's going on? Did DLD After Dark narrate this and put it out there? But they said absolutely not. There's no claim on it. It's wide open. So there's some miscommunication between Findaway Voices and ACX Audible, but that's the big market, right? So they need to get that ironed out, and it's kind of bad timing because the press release is Monday, and that's been set for a long time. So that can't change. Thankfully, the press release will link people to Barnes and Noble, where the audiobook is, plus like the print version ebook. And people buy the ebook quite a bit too, the Kindle version. So all is good, but like it has to show up on Audible pretty fast. Otherwise, it's going to get too distant from the press release, and it's going to kind of be a little bit of a mess. So Sunflowers, so another library got them. Yeah. So there's a lot of interlibrary swapping of the books, and then someone had contacted me and said if their library needs it to be part of some electronic book sharing system. And I get that. I mean, how libraries work. I will tell you, I set the price for libraries. So I set the price well, I shouldn't say it. For the audiobooks, I set the price. For the print copies, I don't. But the books are very affordable for libraries, right? And especially the audiobooks are extremely affordable for libraries. So, there's not much more I can do, right? Even Lost of Information is $8.99. So go to Barnes and Noble, right? And that's the audiobook. And I mean, with a professional actor, 6 hours, 40 minutes, that's a really good deal. And then I think School of Airs, I have like a $10.99 is what that book lists. So, I mean, you're getting a good price, right? So anyway, I'm hoping to get the audiobook stuff ironed out. It's kind of weird. It's between Findaway Voices and Audible, but it should be on Audible. But anyway, I biked. So here in Wisconsin, the last week it's been 80 degrees. It was 82 on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then today like 81. And tomorrow 77, and it'll drop down a little bit. But which is unseasonably warm, and we've also had very high water. So I live, if you bring up the state of Wisconsin, there's like this weird trapezoidal shape in the middle, and it's like this flood region right now. I live right in the middle of that, but it looks much worse on the map than it is in person, because a lot of what's flooded out it's open like farmland. I mean, I'm sure that's not good for farmers, right? But it's not like residential that's flooding out. Although when I biked, so I bike right next to a levee for part of my 40-mile stretch, there was 4 foot of water on the opposite side of the levee. So I took a picture of it and I posted it on Twitter, the levee sign, and that's usually like dry. And so this, 100-year-old levee along the Wisconsin River, like water on the wrong side of it. I'm like, oh, and then I'm kind of thinking, what do I do if I'm biking and the levee gives way? Because I was driving once during flood conditions, and part of the levee didn't give way, and I had to spin around because in front of me the water was starting to. That was like 15 years ago, I think. So that really sucked. But I'm thinking here, what do I do? Um, you know, if I'm, I didn't really have a good answer for that because I didn't. I'm kind of looking, but the water was nothing was moving. Right. So if you start to see like movement in the water, that'd be a bad sign. But anyway, it was a beautiful, beautiful day. A lot of snakes out. Holy smokes, a lot of snakes. But there are no bugs this time of year because 2 weeks ago, we had snow and to be out and to bike. So, I don't sunburn. I redden like nothing will peel. But man, it was amazing. And vitamin D, right? Be out in the sun is good stuff. So, my university class, my spring class wrapped up on Wednesday night. So that was good. And I got final grades in today. So that was good. So a lot of things happening, and then the consulting has been very busy. So, and that will continue to be busy. Good, but busy. So, but I fertilized my lawn. I put a lot of lime out there. I live in sandy soil and stuff like that. Might have been a little early to do it, but that lime is like slow release, and it's so I don't think it's was jumping the gun any, but you know, we're a couple weeks ahead, although again, it's gonna cool down. So, otherwise things are going well. Does anybody have questions? I'm not sure. So, Tuesday night, I'll be on the Mallard Report. So the Mallard Report, Jim Mallard, I've been on the Mallard Report, a couple times before, and that's Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Uh, and that's a big show. Jim is had Roger Stone as a guest, right? So I am thankful to be coming back on the show. We're going to talk about velocity of information a little bit, and also probably more about deep fakes and the impact on schools and just kind of life in general. But uh, we are starting to see, like in the classes I teach, deep fakes that are being made by kids of other kids or of teachers or administrators. And what does this mean? So deep fake, where they take a recording and you can alter what the person allegedly has said or the image. So it's pretty freaky. So, hey, it's Vanessa Kitty. Hello. Um, and we're starting to, nobody has board policy to deal with this. So what do you do in the instances where these deep fakes are coming forward? And as I shared, Jim and I had a talk a couple days ago to prep for the show, and I said, I think schools, you're going to see teachers wearing body cams, and I said, but the reason isn't going to be for school safety. The reason is going to be um, that in the next, I would say, 2 years, you're going to have this massive amount and frequency of deep fakes created of teachers and of just what's happening in a classroom. And the only way for a school to investigate that, empirically investigate that, is to have an authentic copy of what happens in the classroom that is recorded. And I think, so you could have 10 teachers on leave at any one time because students have made allegations against them, or I'm not I I look at this and I think this could spiral really fast. So I think it'll be driven by teachers saying, we need to have this because it's not my word against somebody else's word. If you have video carries a ton of weight right now. So I think this is going to be pretty interesting. What are deep fakes? So deep fakes, Sunflowers is asking. So real quick, you could take this video and with about $50 or less of software, and there's one app out there called the Reface app, which I don't even think you have to pay for. Um, But the Reface app is where you can take a video of me and then it'll work me into movies like Rambo and stuff like that. So Rambo will kind of look have my features. Now that is for entertainment. Reface isn't being used in a negative way, but it shows you the potential. There are other apps out there that can alter my voice of what I'm saying, and you can find a ton of these. You can find presidents, speaking and things that are clearly identified. So it's interesting to go into YouTube and type in like presidential deep fake or something. But it's getting really good. The software, as far as it's very efficient, and when schools are presented with this, they don't know what to do. And then the pictures, as Vanessa said. And the thing is, like, think about your phone, right? Like, I can go into my new phone, and after I take a picture, I can just put my finger on a few areas and click erase, and it's gone. So if I take a picture and I want something out of the background, I just digitally erase it in the moment. So what is the authentic record, right? So, and this is advertised, right? Pixel phone and stuff like that. Erase the people. So I, it's going to be a fun show with Jim because I said I believe we are 2 years away from school board policy in schools that will have everything recorded for a baseline, um, authentic, quote unquote, record of what's happening. And it's going to run into big issues because what are you going to do if you pay for these curriculums from Pearson and things like that? So they're not going to want their curriculums shown, right? Because it's proprietary information and just privacy in the classroom. But it's something has to give because somewhere you have to have this authentic record, and then does that become a public record or? Um, but there are cases that are coming out, and with there was one with a superintendent. I forget what state it was, or a principal, and um, the video was altered to make it seem like he was saying things that he wasn't saying, and that would have been probably the end of his career. So, um, but anyway, and some of the school swatting stuff that's been happening. Swatting is where threats are called into a school, and then police arrive. That's being tracked back to AI software, and somebody created a program, right? Um, so it randomly is picking out schools, and it has synthesized voice, and so I mean, I think this stuff is starting to snowball in so many levels. But my concern, as somebody who teaches aspiring school leaders, what does your board of education policy look like? How do you address this the first time somebody says, "Hey, the teacher or a staff member said this," right? And I've got a video of them saying this, which would be a offense, which could get them fired, right? And then you bring in that person and show them, and they're like, "I didn't do this." And they're like, "Well, were you here in this?" "Yeah, I'm here in this area. I didn't say this, though. I didn't." "Well, the video says he did. So, like, how do you investigate that?" So, pretty wild stuff. But the fact is, we're not anywhere close to dealing with this with policy, and there's a liar's dividend, right? So, if you can, so if you are competing against somebody's basketball team and their star player, you get a video of them and it looks like they're vaping, and now they can't play in the championship game and they lose. You've succeeded in your goal of getting them off the team for a game because of this liar's dividend. But there'll be a lot of great discussion. It's a 1 hour show. It's always 9 p.m. Central or 9 p.m. Eastern, excuse me. Tuesdays, the Malliard report. So looking forward to it. But yeah, so I biked. That was awesome. Had an early start in March, had a big overhaul on my bike. So we as in me and the bike shop, which is like a specialty bike shop. This guy's been doing this for like 40 years, two dudes, really great. We figure the bike has a little over 30,000 miles on it. I bought it in 2012. The frame is still original. The handlebars are original, not the grips or anything, but and the seat, the seat, ironically, is original. Even though the bike was in a pretty bad accident, the seat is still original. So everything else, rims, everything, gears has all been rebuilt several times. Um, but yeah, we figure a little over 30,000 miles on the bike. Still, and now it's still in great shape because it's just been rebuilt and I've taken care of it. So yeah, it was a great start. And I also think like biking is a good measure of your health because your cardiovascular is going to manifest problems, right? If you're biking, because there's inclines and things like that. I think the ability to oxygenate blood, reveals itself on a 40-mile ride. With fatigue, your electrolytes cramping, your, spatial if you're losing balance or you're not staying, where you should, your coordination. So I think those things get revealed in a bike ride because if your body's not all if it's not clicking, man, that bike ride is gonna take you out. I mean, you're gonna fall over or you just be winded or forget where you're at. I mean, all that stuff. So I think a bike ride is really a good test of your health. So, yeah, so over here in the chat, let's see, Mike McLuhan, company drivers have no privacy with the big carriers anymore. They have been priced an independent owner operator out of range for most people anymore. It's a shame. Yeah, yeah, you know, big changes, right? It's Ron Wayne. Busy time for Ron Wayne. It's good to see. I saw Ron Wayne. He had a big kind of raffle going on his channel there. So a lot of Ron Wayne memorabilia somebody took home. So it's good stuff. So good to see you, Ron Wayne. I was thinking about you when the tornadoes came through. I don't know exactly where you live. So the tornadoes are somewhere within several hundred miles of Ron Wayne. So hoping that didn't, you know, get to your area. But Bolo, hypothermia. Yeah. Hey, Bolo. My goodness. It is still 70 degrees here at 10. It's going to be warm tomorrow too. So I planted grass on Monday. The utility company put one of these ugly pedestals for cable in my front yard. Oh, just and they dug down and I had to work like 4 hours sifting off the grass. They pull out all these rocks, even though we're sandy. I don't know this backfill when the subdivision came in. So I and then I had to get some topsoil and I have kind of a process to get everything together, but I've been watering it. So I'm hoping like all of that kind of blends in. So, um, but yeah, so that is so the yard is ahead. I think I'm going to buy a dethatcher, actually, like an electric dethatcher, because I do have a heavy gauge 150-foot cord that has a bucket and a really cool system. I haven't used it though for a long time, so but that would work. Um, so yeah, it's been warm. It's been really warm here. So I've been, like I said, I've been good. Um, Vanessa's saying just like what is happening in teaching. Yeah, I think teaching is going to have this big intersection with um, w- you, what is recorded, what is an authentic record, and it'll happen. Some school district will do it. It will happen within the next year or two. And I think where people believe the camera stuff is going to be driven will be the school safety industry. I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's it. Um, I don't think cameras and school safety are preventative measures. I think they're more forensic. But I think you are going to have this push, whether it's people who just say, I can't take the liability, right? If your investigation process is to put me on leave for 3 days and investigate this, like, I can't. I mean, I have to protect my career, and, I mean, I don't think this will be just schools. I mean, I think this is going to, work its way into, other industries. just other career fields. Um, but I don't know. I just think the fact that these deep fakes have evolved, and I talked about it in my 2019 PBS presentation. I said by 2022, and I said in that presentation, I had the slides and the research, and I kind of said, "This is where it'll start to cross. It'll be feasible and easy enough for more people to do it." And here we are, a year beyond that, and it's yeah. I think it's just going to happen. Joe Dolio had said that years ago, to me. He does his pen camera that he has with him for his work, and some of the other things. If there's some interact, might be questioned at some point. And people just go crazy over this video, right? The first video out there is taken as truth. So it is bacon. Look at this guy. This guy's got a show tonight that I'm infringing on. I feel bad about that, but this is kind of this is kind of the only time I could light this up for a little bit because it has been really busy. Um, I have, like I said last night, I just wrapped up the university class that I'm teaching, got the finals done, grades and everything. And that was a big class, one of the biggest classes I've taught in a long time. Consulting today, I had, let me look over here at today's schedule, 10 meetings. Yeah, 10 meetings. So, you know, that's a lot. It's a busy day. So, man, it is honest to God, like at my house, if you can't find me at 8 o'clock at night, just I'm asleep on the couch or I've headed back to the bedroom early to go to bed. So I and I think that's okay, because I'm getting up early and stuff, but, yeah, I don't stay up late anymore either. Like, this is one of the few times in the last 2 months I've been up after 10 o'clock. Again, in winter here, when it's dark at 4 o'clock and it's 5 degrees below 0, not a lot of motivation to stay up. You kinda get in hibernation mode, but, I also I didn't put on much weight this winter. I stayed pretty trim, and I could tell when I was biking too that, I w I think if I was a little heavier, it woulda showed up in the cardio when I was biking, and like I said, I could have gone I could have gone another 10 miles probably. I could have probably 20. Like I said, the part that screws you up, the cadence. So, it's kinda like, the military, left, right, left. Well, when you're biking, um, and you bike like 40, 50 miles, how the pattern with your biking, you're pedaling, there's a cadence to that. And if you don't bike for a while, you at least for me, like, I lose the cadence. So the start of the year, it's hard to get the cadence back because you find yourself biking too you don't and you're not shifting the gears to match your pedaling. Like, it takes a while to get that back. Maybe you gotta do maybe, like, 4 or 5 rides to kinda get your cadence back. And, like, I totally was in the wrong set of gears for, like, the first 10 miles, and I didn't realize it, so, you know, I'm like, "Whoa, um, I should have checked that." It wasn't a big thing, but I was, like, working a little too hard. So, yeah, I was, like, kind of in 10th gear, like, right from the start, and so when I did my first hill, I was like, "Holy smokes, put a lot of strain when you're on the chain and the gear set." Like, what's going on? But anyway, all good, all good. Um, so yeah, that is good. My concrete slab from October made it through winter without any cracks, so that looks great. It's nice. I sat out there a couple nights, this week, not like for long, but kinda just to soak in an hour of sun from, like, 5 to 6 o'clock or something like that. So, that was good. I had that concrete curbing done around, the landscaping last year too, that brown, like, that stuff was just perfect. Not a crack in it anywhere. The, uh the curb in front of my house, which is city property, that got beat up really bad from snowplows. Big chunks of concrete out of that thing, but so Vanessa's saying classrooms all over being recorded there using them's online classes. Yeah, the thing is, you're right, Vanessa. With COVID, a lot of classrooms were recorded so parents could figure out what was, what a teacher taught for days that were synchronous or asynchronous, or if a child had tested positive and they couldn't be in school, right? So that kind of opened the door. And I think it's a liability thing now. Um, I don't think, I'm sure it's a liability thing, and I'm kind of waiting to see who's going to be the first person, first school district to put it in the Board of Education policy on how they're going to investigate alleged deep fakes of other students or staff. And I think that's a year or two at the most. And I completely believe it will be common practice for all classrooms to be recorded, not publicly available necessarily, but available for administrators, kind of like hallways are recorded in public spaces. Um, and the reason is going to be you're going to need this authentic record because of the deep fakes. And I know kids shouldn't have cameras, right? But cameras still work their way in the classrooms, and um, it is pretty crazy. So one of the things I did with my class this spring that I didn't do before is I in the final exam I had a question that said, what do you as far as advocacy? And I never asked this question before in 19 years. Um, but and I told people, okay, like when I say advocacy, I'm not saying that you're going to necessarily meet with your uh, I don't know, Rotary or something like that, which is advocacy, right? But um, what are you going to do that's bigger than your district? Because you're taking on this administrative role. Are you going to? And I guess I can say it a little bit because, right, I've been on public TV twice. I presented two PBS presentations. I've written two books. I've written numerous journal articles. I've been part of um, some very big projects that have gone on out there, kind of at a national level. And I'd never want to put it like, well, I did this, because that's condescending, and I'm also much older than these people, and things just, if it unfolds for you, it unfolds. But what the point is, I'm like, you got to think about this, because there'll be opportunities for you to testify on school funding, whether there should be narc in schools, or Senator Tammy Baldwin has a bill proposed now for standing order for Narcan. So would you testify if, there's here in Wisconsin? What would you say? There's actually one school that went ahead and they just, they bought Narcan and put it in their schools. And I think we talked about that already, Denmark, Wisconsin. So, do you see yourself writing a journal article? Will you present at a conference someday? Do you want to do that? Would you like to be on TV? you know, just would you write a book? Would you? I mean, where do you want to go with like being bigger than your district? Because that's how things get changed. And a couple of people were like, totally, I'm not going to do this. Like, I don't like to present to people. I'm not going to. And it's okay. So then, could you harvest data, feed data, talk to people that then would talk to the masses, right? Because I don't think it's an option. If you're going into these higher profile leadership roles, you've got to be influencing the field. I mean, I'm pretty much at that conclusion right now. I'm in my I'm in my 50s, right? But I mean, I've been doing this a long time, and that's part of the job. And I don't think anybody tells the new administrators that's part of your job. Um, and no one really told me, but you kind of see administrators who would do things, or I mean, again, presenting at a state conference or breakouts, but there is another side of this, and the side is I don't think people know they're capable of this. I don't think they know how to publish in a journal, right? They don't know how that process works. And so I'm like, here's Cap'n, right? So they list for the next year. They in April they're going to have this topic, and in May this topic, and so do any of these topics appeal to you? Have you done anything in your district with something, teaching, co-teaching, looping, whatever it is? um, and email them and submit an article. Um, so and yeah, and then people are like, well, yeah, I never thought about that. So I think I wrote my first article for it was called Advanced Journal, which I don't think exists anymore. It was like a healthcare journal, and it was published in 1999. Um, so that was a long time ago. But yeah, I have a couple articles I want to write, and there's one article. I don't know. I'll probably do it with Kaplan because Kaplan. So for my university um, rank, I guess that's a poor way to put it, but so it's called. I could bring it up on a screen. It's called like a scientific. It's a scientific ranking per. If you think of your a Google Scholar page, so if I bring up my Google Scholar page, my most of my works are on there, and then it also will indicate how many times I've been cited. Now, that's not always accurate because I know there are articles and journals and studies that have cited my stuff, and it doesn't appear in Google Scholar. It all depends upon how Google Scholar scrolls stuff and whatever. But um, you get this relevance ranking in the field for the stuff you've published, and then how many times you've been cited. My ranking is pretty high at the university where I teach, so like it's really high. Um, and so that's a good thing for university, good thing for me. And then, so that's where I'm trying to encourage people to, find, write, because it, it makes a difference. Because, I look and people will cite my stuff and you read how they put stuff together and incorporate my stuff. It's pretty cool. Um, so, so yeah, there's an article I want to write. I think for Kaplan because Kaplan is it just has a higher value ranking, scholarly ranking. Like if you write for like Edweek, it doesn't count for much. If you write for Kaplan, it does as far as like your university scholarly rank. Um, but I want to write an article called Shadow Vetting, VETTING. So here's the article title. I don't know what the title would be, but here's the concept: shadow vetting. And shadow vetting is a term I came up with. Like Google's, I couldn't find it anywhere. Like it doesn't exist. Um, so it's a term I came up with, and I believe shadow vetting is when schools buy expensive safety devices or systems because the next school over already has it, right? So they believe, okay, we're all schools. This school, their administrators, they went through, they made sure everything worked, and we can trust them. And I think there's shadow vetting. It's this very long nodal structure, like nodes, meaning maybe the district next to you did the same thing. They thought a district next to them vetted it, and that district thought a district next to them vetted it, and then they saw some other district on the news and called, so nobody really knows who vetted this. And the thing is, it hasn't been vetted for your district and your unique needs. Like in my state, we have 421 districts. So I think there's this thing called this concept of shadow vetting. I'm convinced it exists. And it's when the schools rapidly purchase multi-million dollar equipment, like within 2 weeks of a Sentinel event. Not even if it's happening in their district, So we've seen this right now. People buy this stuff and school boards go for it and they point to another district, or they just harvest the talking points from another district. And they have no idea if the district really did their due diligence or not. And even if they did, it's like saying, hey, like the car, that I have, works for me, but maybe it doesn't work for somebody else, right? If you're taller, the car's not going to work for you, or so if you're in a more snowy climate, like the car I have would not be the choice for you because it's only front wheel drive and it's got the bigger rims and not a lot of traction. So it's that kind of thing. The shadow vetting is happening like crazy, and I want to write an article specifically on that. Now the thing is, it has to be from my positionality, which is okay. I have enough swagger and academic cred to do that. It's a little less empirical than I would like. I'd like to be able to to cite things, and I don't like to dip into pulling stuff out of my classes, like saying, of 50 students this past year, 30 said whatever, because then it gives a pseudo impression that you're kind of using your students to inform research without their consent. So, I wouldn't do that. It was one thing if I have a case study, right? And I ask students, law students, would you have the person with a drone participate in the rescue or not? Man, that's not a journal article. But this shadow vetting thing, I think, is real, and I have a good way to work it into another article I wrote about. The hell was it? Um, uh, it's yeah. What was it? I'm trying to. It's not the all students participate in all drills. IRB. It's the IRB article. So Institutional Review Board, um, reviewing all safety stuff to make sure it doesn't have points of harm. Try to mitigate those ahead of time. Um, so I think there's an interface there. There's a couple articles I've been chomping at the bit to write. Um, welcome to Ting. Shout out again to Vanessa, to Bacon. So good to see you guys. Sunflowers. Um, so yeah, there are a few journals which, I mean, to publish in Kappan is really a privilege. It's rare to get an article in Kappan. I mean, most of what's submitted is turned down. So maybe you don't start with a Kappan, and I've had stuff that hasn't. It's not like everything that I write gets published, but I want to go back and do a couple journal articles for like Campus Safety Magazine. There's a few that I've talked. We've talked about things, and they're like, "Yeah, submit an article," and I just never put it together. But there are a few articles that I want to write. It's Chad Elkins, our CPA friend in the field, Chicago. So he's deputized down there. So it's also known as Sheriff Chad Elkins. So yeah, I've got a couple articles I wanna put out there, but so it's writing articles isn't necessarily fun. So I don't know. I don't want to really like it's sitting down and write an article this weekend, but it is something in the university role, right? That you gotta keep the wheels turning. It's kind of publish or perish. But like I said, my university, my scientist ranking is extremely high at my at the university I teach at, and then like worldwide, I think I'm like 1,200,000, which it doesn't sound very good, but actually that's not bad in this empirical ranking. So again, faculty have this process where they get ranked on. It's not anything to do with student feedback. It's on your degrees. It's your syllabi are evaluated. What you've written. It's peer reviewed. How many times it's been cited. All of those things get mixed in, and then it generates these rankings. So the higher the ranking, the better, because then for me it's more opportunities at the university. It's just more opportunities for publishing and stuff like that. Now, with that said, I don't know what I really want to do. Like, do I want to do another book? The sensible thing would be to do a safety book, because School of Airs is 56 reviews. Like 55 or like 5 stars, and the audiobook's been selling well. Books have been doing well for 4 years. Although like Velocity of Information was a fascinating book to write, and I love it, and that has like this worldwide appeal and like that. But I don't really. There isn't a sequel to Velocity of Information. That was just that was a moment in time that was really archived, right? So I think what I would do is I would do another school safety book if I were to write one. Yeah, I would have to let this deepfake stuff play out like a year, and then really get in. And there was an author who contacted me and said, "Would you be interested in co-authoring the book?" And I said, "Yeah," because this person was really I'd be like, yeah, I mean, with you, certainly. But nothing kind of developed of that. And it's, like I said, it's busy schedules and things. But that is one thing is I'm pretty much the lone wolf with publishing. And that was brought up to me a couple times is I should try to like co-author something. So I don't know. We'll see. Like I'm not really super pressed to do a lot of this stuff. I kind of look at this like in the last 10 years. So 2013, May of 2013, I presented the first time on PBS, the PBS special. So in the last 10 years, I've been on PBS twice, two specials. I wrote two books. They're both in audio. I narrated one of them. So I've written a lot of journal articles, big time journal articles. And I added two university classes, two different legal classes, a 600 and a 700 level legal class, which were offered to me, right? So and I was professor of the year last year. So like over this 10-year frame for scholarly stuff, it really is really great. Like I don't know if it could be much better. But with that said, I don't know if I don't intend to replicate that in the next 10 years. We'll see where things go. So this microphone's all over the place tonight. But my advice, I don't know what the weather's been like. Bacon, ting, ting, Chad, there, Chicago. I mean, it's been 82. It's Toy Town, been 83 and sunny where Toy Town lives. I don't. What's the weather been like? Like I said, it's been about 80 to 82 and sunny here for the last 4 or 5 days, and so I'm thrilled. So look at this here. It's our good friend Marty. Gosh darn Marty, look at this. That beautiful sign back there. Yep. Look at it zoning in and out. Translate. So it is Translate. It's good. So that's awesome. It's awesome. And this is the background when I consult. So this is exactly, I don't blur anything out. Is what it looks like. So, but yeah, and I always wear a collared shirt. I don't always wear a sport coat, but I always wear a collared shirt, not a polo shirt either, like a collared dress shirt. So I always try to keep it pretty good. And then I have a headset, so my HyperX, which is the most comfortable headset for consulting. Like if I got to go like 8 hours a day, like my Fridays are pretty long. It's awesome. Little bendable microphone, so I can just bend it out and take my coffee and bend the mic back over. But that is an awesome headset. I talked to Mike Dolly, who was a guest on the show, Wisconsin Esports, and I said, like, what do the gamers wear that's comfortable? He's like, boom, like there's the headset, and that thing. God, I used to do consulting with. I don't do it with this setup because you're performing a studio. I got all the stuff I got to do in front of me when I'm consulting, but I was I had a $20 pair of headphones. I don't know what the hell the brand was, and might have been Bose. This was literally $20. No, it's Logitech, $20. Those are just super tight on the ears and a little cheap. And I use it for a lot of time when I was consulting during the pandemic. Then my ears would be all red and hurt, and so I'm like really glad I got the new setup. So yeah, let me see if this works. I don't. The setup here has changed, as far as like the interface of StreamYard, and then I had to clean up my cookies, and that wiped out all of my. I had to figure out what the hell my login was for about 100 sites. So, like my audiobook, I'm like, great, because I used to just click there and. So I'm like, what's the password? And let's see here if this works. Share screen. Yeah, got it. Entire screen. Sure, why not? Screen. All right, sure. So, why not? Yeah. That, folks, is my bike. All right.
Sure.
So,
Why not?
and so that, folks, is my bike.
So what you're looking
All right,
at
sure.
there is
So,
a bike.
and
It is a bike.
that's
So
almost America.
that,
I've been watching your
folks, is my bike.
So what you're looking
All right,
at
sure.
there
Is a
is
bike.
and
Vehicle, and then being
that's almost
so
America.
that,
I've been watching
folks,
your
is my bike.
So what you're looking
All right,
at there
sure.
is a bike.
And
vehicle,
and then being
that's almost
so
America.
that,
I've been watching
man,
your
if I
So what
can follow,
you're
and
looking
I've pretty much watched all the content.
That's
you
almost
put out
America.
there.
Man,
Man,
if I
so what
can follow,
you're
and I've pretty much watched
that
all
is
the
my
content.
truck
That's almost
74.
America.
Man,
Man,
this is keeping my
if I
bread.
can follow,
Bike at this point. That is my truck 74.
I prefer
my bread. Like this one. That is my truck 74. I prefer large man breaking real he's got move large man athletes man and really just he's got move large man never man really 30,000 miles he's got move large man never really 30,000 and also like the debris and stuff like that never can get up into the gear really 30,000 and also like the debris and stuff like that just breaks anyway the bag above the water bottles anyway the bag above it's water bottle my existing jam like the bag above jam eggs water is my existing jam this one's a little bit smaller existing the only thing that bag does is this one's a little bit smaller and it's the only pipe wide bike and it's the only and then on the back is the monster copies which are 2 years old. I have a huge bag. That's a lot on the back and monster copy does come off of there. 2 years old. I have a hypotheticus goes a lot and very little things come off of there. 2 years old. I have a hypotheticus goes a lot very little things come off when I transport the bike and strip yeah, I updated the light on the front with the new under 450. Yeah, I updated the batteries on the new under 450. Yeah, I updated the batteries on the I always have 2 sets of lights if not under the lights. Yeah, I updated the batteries on the invisible set of lights if not don't buy it. Anyway, what you're doing here is you're looking and that is an irrigation system. That is you're looking at irrigation system. That is irrigation probably usually 1,000 irrigation system. Probably so it's pretty common in this path that I go you see the big irrigation system. So when the fire can go and pretty common water over the road, so you see the big times when the fire can go and pretty common yeah, this is looking times when the fire can go and this is looking north. This is looking times when the fire can go and it's over here. Like, why is it looking here? So yeah, I did a photo. Again, I took that one yesterday. So yeah, it's just irrigation system. I took that one yesterday. So yeah, it's just photo. Irrigation system. So yeah, just photo. Irrigation system. Beautiful. 40 miles. One of the things I'm really glad I did is we added a mirror. Like 3 years ago, I'm really glad I did is now I added a mirror. just keeping track of what's happening. Behind you, start to hear a little bit, and just keeping track of what's happening. That's a big behind you, start to hear a little bit. That expensive, and if you like to break out, that's probably not going to survive. That expensive, and my that was $68 that is up above my it's a really good setup. I spent some time kind of it's just a really good setup. Right under the fence is my first aid pack. But I have a space. This is a really good setup. Right under the fence. I want to put something in. Yeah, but I have a space. This is a really good setup. I'm not exactly sure. I want to put something else there, and there's not really a bag of space. I'm not exactly sure. I want to put something that's going to waste a bit of space. There's not really a bag of space. I'm trying to figure out what I'm that's going to waste a bit of space. What I'm going to do. I don't know. What I'm that's going to waste a bit of space. What I'm going to do. Yeah, I don't know. Right, I got to figure out. Yeah. Let's get out of here. Right, I got to figure out. All right. I want to show you guys another picture here. So look at all these super chats. Guys are like, what? So, yeah. Camera uploads. I got a new phone last month, Samsung S23. I had an S21. It's good. I mean, not great. So here's an interesting picture. So I'm biking next to the levee, the Wisconsin River levee, right? And this is what I took this picture yesterday, and we're under a flood warning. This is what it looked like. I took this picture yesterday. So we're under a flood like that. That's usually warning. Bone dry. This is what it looked like. I took this picture yesterday. We're under a flood like that. That's usually standing on the road. Dry. This is what it looked like. This picture yesterday. We're under a flood. Like that's usually standing on the road. This is what it looks like. My back. This is we're under a flood. That's warning. What I'm looking at right here, and this is my back. This is we're under a flood. That's warning. That is what I'm looking at right here, and this is my back. This is we're under a flood. That's warning. That is raised that's my that was when I was that is raised that was when I was that is raised I'd like to go get back to I'd like to get back to what is the show from? I'd like to show I did those a lot. Classes from I'd like to show Eastport. I did those a lot. I'd like to American Eastport. I did my administrative classes. American Eastport. Administrative whatever
as I'm biking on the road that's to the left of Instagram, the river, as I'm biking on the road that's to the left of Instagram, the river, I'm looking at the water and it wasn't moving. I'm looking at the water and it wasn't moving. Yeah, I bike through, and so my town, the Wisconsin River goes through it. And in the one part of town where the road is close to the river was like 3 feet from the road, which is very high. In my 20 years here, probably one of the top 3 or 4 heights. So we had a ton of snow up in the northern part of the state, and it got to be 80 degrees and comes down. So yes, this is worse than White Room torture. Ting ting. Oh my goodness. This mixed with Sylvester. Not sure. Oh, hiccups. I had the hiccups. Oh my goodness. Yes, I don't have the hiccups tonight. So, all right, bacon. For some reason it was, I don't know, the thing's being silly. All right. It felt like I was getting very high too. Okay. All right. Whoa. What is, you guys talking about the river here? What's going on? So maybe am I missing it? So is this President Biden speaking? What? Okay. Hopefully you'll read the chat soon. Am I loud noises? Feedback. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. When I go to the other screen, if I do not click the share audio thing, it echoes. So I'm sorry about that. Yeah. So, so that's a change in the setup here, and I'm just not used to it. But I know exactly what you're experiencing, and it should be gone now because I just took that screen off there. I'm sorry about that. So, yep. Yeah. All right. So, well, anyway, it's a flooded area. So I hope everybody's doing well. I have followed your channels. Bacon. I see when you've done shows. Like I said, I'm usually not up. Well, not up Friday night or Saturday morning when your show's end. I've been catching Graham Wilson, super pilot-ish. I appreciate that Graham has returned to podcasting. If you go to his channel, I think it was like 8-10 years ago, he had some stuff, and then suddenly started up again about a year ago. And so I like his channel, and so yeah, I appreciate you guys. And so lately I've been tuning in. Well, there hasn't been a lot of time, but I've been just kind of watching the finances and the economy. SVB Bank goes down for the count, and I really don't think I don't think the economy is good. I don't think the banking sector is strong. So I just don't know what to make of things. Yeah. So this is yeah, it's pretty unusual, times to have this continued level of inflation and you know if you where do you what's your safe haven if a bank isn't a safe haven? You could say cryptocurrency as long as it's not frozen or hacked, I guess. Gold and silver, yeah, but how do you make that fungible? Right? You know, um, there's not a lot of stores. Yeah, you could barter, but it's just not going to be the way it would be for most people. So I just don't know. I don't know. Seems like we're moving closer to this cashless society, digital currency. Um, that's another thing is I think you will see Board of Education policy come out and say, schools have to be, um, cashless, right? And because it's going to eliminate some theft, it's going to build in some hypothetical efficiencies. But what is it going to do for concession stands? Then, you know, but I just, I, man, I really think things are moving extremely fast. So, um, look at it's Bacon. It was great. See y'all next time. So, and Bacon, I hope you're doing well, buddy. So, I do. Um, I was, I'm still at 1.23 thousand, 1,230 subscribers. So the channel's not changing. It's staying there at its numbers. So I've been posting a little more on Twitter, and I've been pretty active on LinkedIn for the free version. And LinkedIn is a weird thing because if you go to the professional version, like the first tier is like $20 a month or something. Like I'm like, you got to be kidding. I mean, I'm not paying that for what? Um, and so, I mean, if there was like a 4.99 version of LinkedIn, even then, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it's a, I've got, I'm able to meet a lot of people kind of in the university and safety realm, and that's been good for research and kind of learning some things. And, but, but otherwise, yeah, you know, um, so I've been buying lots of things for barter items, says Ting, just not firearms or ammo. Yeah, yeah. Um, barter and skill set, right? What can you do on your own? And maintaining your own items, right? Your own property the best that you can, and kind of looking out for those around you. But you're right. Um, Never use firearms or ammo for barter, says Ting Ting. I would think you probably wouldn't want people to know that you had those available, right? And for barter. But one thing I've noticed in town when I did my ride through it, went through town, a lot of chicken coops, a lot more than last year. So people kind of do them up in fancy ways, which I think is kind of neat. Um, but a lot of chicken coops in town, so that's been good. Um, but yeah, it's really strange. Um, it's kind of where we're at with society. I don't think things are going to get better economically, um, at least through 2024 into 2025, and then we'll see. Um, and uh, I had a conversation, and I said, the the war in Ukraine and Russia, is such a big global influencer um, on um, oil and commodities, right? And the likelihood of being able to influence stock markets. Um, so I also have this interesting theory. I don't think it's way out there. Um, I think as far as investing, like stock market stuff, with the way that AI is and more AI driven investing, I think it's going to be like sound dampening, so like acoustic headphones. So let me tell you my theory on this. So, right, if you have acoustic headphones, they can recognize the noise outside and produce a signal to offset that to eliminate the noise. Basically, the sinusoidal, as the sine goes up, it creates the counter sine and brings it to quiet. And I think it's going to be very similar with the stock market, where you're going to have this massive amount of automated trading, and so if something gets a little bit, there'll be a trade to bring it back down to the baseline, and this will happen so fast, and you'd have to go in and regulate it to you know it's already day trading. You have to put some greater regulation. You have to hold stuff for a certain amount of time. But I really see like you could have a day of trading in 5 years where the market would swing, 1/50th%, and that would be it. And basically, like every day would kind of just be like this. You would not have these big swings, and if you did, it would always probably be to the negative. But unless there's some sentinel event, right, like earthquake, and you know takes out a nuclear power plant, and wipes out a big area, something like that. But I just so I look at this whole thing too, and I'm thinking, I think the age of like investing and growth in investing is kind of done. I don't see that coming back ever, and I don't think it's a good thing, right? But because the growth of returns, stuff like that, I just don't see it. So I have rabbits in the garage, ting ting, least amount of space for maximum return. So and fertilize the garden. So yeah, it's good stuff. Very, very good stuff. So, um, does anybody have any questions specific for me? Because I'm not sure when I'll be on again. I'll kind of do a recap of. I wanted to do an appearance. So everyone's like, "Oh, he's not. He's not captive. He's not working on some clandestine special project, multi-jurisdictional task force." So, um, so no questions. So um, when I put the show up on blocks in January, consulting full swing in a matter of days, and I thought that's how it would happen, and so I hadn't been consulting through November. I was basically retired, except teaching the university classes, and then I was like, well, the economy looks really bad, and if I have an opportunity to, you know, fortify my position a little bit, then I'm going to go and do that as far as finances and stuff. So got back into consulting, and which I'm good at and I like. But again, that really wasn't the plan. Um, so, but that quickly ramped back up into full production. It's been good, and kind of already have next year planned out. I'm going to change a little bit of my schedule because I work across time zones. But yeah, and so when that happened, so much went into that, and then the biggest university class was teaching. I just wiped out. So and when I do a show, I research it. I do the blog posts, lovely audio, get it out on Podbean, and so I want it to be good quality for you, right? And then when you contribute, we have a good back and forth because I've done my due diligence, and I wasn't able to do that, so I wasn't going to come on and just talk, because you probably have a lot better time, a lot better things to do than just to listen to me like talk like tonight. That there's little sensible components to it, um, but no, I I almost need it like an assistant, to an intern to do like the blog post. People, well, you could do Chat GPT. I'm like, well, yeah, but I'm not doing that. I'm not going to just have some harvested thing. It's unique information that has to come from me. So, Ting Ting, I haven't seen you in a long time. Good to see you. Likewise, I'm glad you're here. So, I don't have any of the studio lights on, and I don't have my UCam running through this right now, which would filter out, so I look shiny. I look shiny and kind of like red, and that's from being out in the sun a little bit yesterday. Um, but yeah, so that's just it's not it's not running with those systems. I've liked my new Logitune, um, my new camera. That's been good. It's been a lot better resolution. It does freeze once in a while when I'm consulting, and then I've got to reboot it. It freezes because the Windows 10 will suddenly say, "Hey, we discovered a new camera." I'm like, "Dude, it's the camera I'm using right now." And then I've got to like go through, and that doesn't happen a lot. And it's not like other people don't have issues. So, tech issues. Toy Town, I have trouble with blood sugar if I walk over 5 miles. What do you do biking to regulate this? Good question. So, one is I personally have not had issues with blood sugar or diabetes. So, that's a plus. It's not part of my family history. But what I do is I bring a very specific profile of food with me. And I've learned this from distant cyclers, Nikolai Razavayu, our Soviet cyclist friend. Um, so I will start planning the night before for a ride. It's probably has to do less with blood sugar and more to do with electrolytes, because electrolytes running low, you'll definitely cramp up and it will be painful. And that takes a while. It might take a day to kind of recover from that. Um, so what I do is I take green bananas, and the sugar in green bananas is slower to metabolize. I will start the night before with 1 or 2 green bananas, that morning with 1 or 2 green bananas, a handful of, yes, Swedish fish, Toy Town, believe it or not. Swedish fish, not gummy bears. Gummy bears are mostly sugar. Swedish fish are they're slow burn sugar. So I will do that, and then I bring a green banana with me, which again gets metabolized the sugars in that slower. Um, and then I also bring the fish with me, but I don't bring like candy bars or anything like that, because that'll, for me, that would mess me up. It would be too much of a big hit of sugar and a big drop. And then I take beef jerky, and beef jerky is right. It's salted, so you're getting the electrolytes. You're getting the slow breakdown of protein. You're probably not going to realize it in the moment when you're biking, but it's a slow. It slows your digestive process down. Fish crackers, right? Those little cheese fish crackers. I will mix those in. I'll do like my own trail mix. Those peanuts, light salted peanuts, and then what's the third thing I put it? I don't even know anymore. But it's mostly like light salted peanuts and Swedish fish, and the fish cracker. So those go in a little Ziploc bag, and then I also take a saltine. It's a saltine cracker, is a Ritz thing with the cheese, and have these kids' lunchbox. We have like the 4 crackers. You dip it in the cheese, and again, crackers are for the carbohydrates, and the cheese will just kind of get burned up. But so none of that is fast. And then I bring one Gatorade, 1 gallon of water, and 1 pint of coconut water, which has electrolytes. So that's it. I never get lightheaded or dizzy. Never get lightheaded or dizzy. So I think lightheaded or dizzy. I mean, I'm a doctor, but not like a medical doctor. I think where I would be looking at that, if I start to feel that way, I would wonder about if my red blood cells were working as well as they should be, if they were oxygenating, right? I would see that more of a blood oxygen issue. So again, if I was experiencing that, I would try to look and do I have enough protein, and so anyway, otherwise, that's kind of it. I bring a lot of fluid. So to bring a gallon of water, which is 8 pounds. So again, you saw the bag, right? The bag, there's a gallon of water in there, and 8 pounds. So the bike is really heavy when it goes out, and that's fine because I'm biking for endurance. I'm not biking to race. But people kind of like, it's when you tell me bring, as I say, I easily bring 1.5 gallons of water, 12, well, of fluid, gallon of water, and then maybe, the Gators, so like 12 pounds. So where does that go? Well, it goes into me and then it goes, out of me. But a lot of that actually does get sweated out too. But, um, you, in my opinion, you can't bring too much water with you. I've got places I can stop if I had to get additional water, but I bring a lot of water. Some mornings, coffee, black coffee, 24-ounce black coffee is almost always the way that I start a 100-mile day. If I'm biking 100 miles, I will start with coffee because the first 7 to 10 miles, it just like kicks you and you just kind of live off the caffeine. I wouldn't do that a lot because I don't want to kind of become habitual caffeine user for cycling, but I'll do that. And something I also do with cycling is I always bring antacids. So I have a container of antacids in my bag because depending upon when your body switches over. So this is an interesting thing. Like I said, I've biked, I don't know, my life, 100,000 miles. When you're on a distance bike ride, your body at some point stops burning what's in your stomach, right? And it starts to burn what's in your liver, your bile and stuff like that. And you can feel when that happens. Like it didn't happen on this ride because it was only 40 miles, but maybe at like a 60, 70-mile point of a ride, you can tell your body switches. And when that happens, it feels like you've just swallowed like iron, like this real almost heartburn type feeling. It's Mike McLuhan. Good night, buddy. Mike McLuhan. Good seeing you. So there's this moment, and it might last for 15 minutes or whatever, but it's this horrible heartburn when your body does a switch from getting energy from one system to another, and it's so bad that for me, like I've got to grab an antacid to like do that. So I don't have anything with me. It becomes pretty miserable. So, but it also is this good thing because it shows your body's doing what it needs to do, and then that's when you really like tone up and lose fat because you're burning off these like bile reserves. So like I said, I'm never, you hit that point in a bike ride, but like at 100 miles, like that's not the tired part of a bike ride. Like I can get off the bike after a day at 100 miles and be fine, like put the bike away and do, some stuff. I used to go and run after a 100-mile bike ride. It's about 70 miles in for me that things kind of, you can also tell Toy Town, like it's very rare, but I mean, I have 2 checkpoints that I stop at on my way out, and then I get off the bike and, and if either of those checkpoints, and one is 7 miles out and the other one is maybe 15 miles out, if I don't feel well, like I don't there's there are some days it's just not happening. It doesn't happen a lot, but there are some days, you just your mind's not into it, or your body, or you didn't prep the night before, meaning like you don't have enough salt in your body, and it's a day when you're sweating a lot, so your electrolytes are going to kind of get messed up. So then you just turn around and go back home. It doesn't happen a lot, but I also learned to do like those 2 kind of check-in points always. And this is like just from learning from myself and just from like Nikolai Razvayu and people who are, very serious cyclists. So, yeah, I find myself, I used to talk a lot when I was cycling. I used to like talk through, like if I was to write a journal article or do a lecture, like how would I do it? Because no one's listening. When I bike, like there's nobody out there. I mean, might see 3 vehicles. And then on a 100-mile ride, I'll bring along my JBL outdoor speaker and my old Samsung iPod type-ish thing, and I'll download podcasts and set the speaker up on the bag in the back, and then, I don't listen, like, the first 50 miles, and then the last, like, 50 miles, I'll throw some stuff on to listen documentary or podcast, and, because otherwise it just kinda gets like, the ride isn't boring, but it's just the silence gets boring after a while, I mean, so and I don't wanna really listen to music or the radio, which, so, then it's something that's educational, right? So, but anyway, I have a couple new routes I'm gonna do this year. I found one last year. I was driving around, so I took out a map of my area, and I'm like, "There's an area I could bike to." Like, I've never been up in it's, to the north of where I'm at, and it's, there's a small subdivision out of town a little bit, and then it breaks into this hilly area, just really, really beautiful, and most of it's paved. And I'm like, that would be a nice ride. So I got that kind of jotted out, and I've got a couple rides I want to do this year, and that I haven't done before, a couple areas. So I'd like to bring my bike back to my college town. It and they have a really nice trail system. I used to bike that when I was in college. So I don't know. That's but take care of yourself because you don't get any younger. And when I go out biking too, I really go with the mindset that I will never give up. And like, this is if physically, if it's getting a little stiff or, I just power through it. So I don't really have those I moments where I'm like, I'll just stop here and I'll walk the rest of the way. Like, kind of have the mental tenacity to just power through those over the years. But certainly, you can recognize if something was really wrong, but that's rarely the case. Um, One of the things that I've noticed, so now that I've kind of updated my lights on the bike and the helmet for visibility, because I think last year, like two people in my county were killed during the day. They're out biking. People, hit them. So um, I I upgraded to better lights, but then when I'm done riding, I have to come down here and charge everything. So, like, you get this one thing, another thing, and I've got, different USB ports so it takes, like, the whole night after a ride then to charge everything so it's ready to go for the next ride. Um, but I don't know. I wanna do a video sometime of that. And I thought about doing a video when I was biking, although, like, I have to process it, right? Because I couldn't do it in real time. It wouldn't be reliable, um, internet connection, but I didn't wanna do that the first ride. I just wanna soak it in. But like I said, there's some really cool things that I encounter on my rides that, I'd like to clip into a video so I can give you more context for what that's like. Even, like, edit down, like, the pre-ride process, how I get the bike ready and how I get ready. I eat sardines usually the night before, and that's for the electrolytes and the protein, also the omega-3. Blood is circulating, you be as efficient as possible, and then I'll eat sardines, for the night of the ride, or when the ride's complete, the ride, 100 minutes. Again, sardines turn into, muscle rebuild very quickly. So, I would eat sardines when I'm biking, but then it's just messy. It's like, I don't wanna deal with that. Um, Otherwise, I would bring them out, but, I thought about bringing out, like, tuna packets and crunching down, like, some of the cheese crackers into them because, again, that would be good electrolytes and pretty quick protein, but I haven't done that, either, so I don't know, we'll see. I got a pretty good setup. All right. So everybody, yeah, thank you for your support. Any other questions here? It's our good friend Mike McLuhan. It's our good friend Toy Town Ting Ting. Let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to sign off. And so here we go. So. Dun, 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 dun. Believe it or not, it's not George. All right, everybody, take care. Make the most of when you have these exceptional weather days wherever you're at, because like where I'm at, the last 4 months have been cold and snow, and then suddenly this. So, all right.
How were the beans and chili that you had for breakfast?
They were delicious. Thank you for asking. But now I am very gassy.
I'm sorry to hear that. Who let the frogs out? Phew, that stinks very bad. I have to open the window. Oh no, my cap flew off and it was sucked into the engine.
Holy smokes, the engine just cut out. We should use the Decide model to help us make the right decision.
Mayday. Mayday. I am declaring a beans and chili emergency. Please advise for landing.
Flight 019er, 2 miles northeast. Turn left at 90. Maintain 4,800 to establish an approach. Engine 5, dispatch. Pockets of fire all around.